Perfect. So, hey everyone, welcome once again. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to this session, live on ServiceNow session on benchmarks. And the topic for today is how you can bring in IT service excellence by leveraging benchmarks that is provided by ServiceNow. So in today's session, I have Christopher with me, and both of us would be taking you through benchmarking and what kind of insights that you can get from benchmarks and leverage it for your benefit at your organization. So like I was saying, Christopher is my outbound counterpart with ITSM, and both of us are, I would say, chartered with the product, which is benchmarks. And benchmark in itself, does it help our customers in A, understanding their performance, and B, how can you leverage it in improving it as well? So with that, a quick, I would say, just a safe harbor notice here. We would be looking at few of the items or capabilities that might be coming in future. So we would like you not to make any kind of a purchasing or adoption decision based on them. Now that the safe harbor is out of the way, let's get into the meat of the discussion. And meanwhile, while we go through our presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat and the Q&A section so that you can put in your question that between Christopher and I, we both can answer them live in this particular session itself. Perfect. So let me start with the persona and the problem statement itself that we are trying to solve with benchmarks. So when we are talking and researching with the customers, one of the things that we got to know from their leadership team as well as the process team, the process owners team, that they wanted to understand where do they stand when they come, where do their performance stand in comparison to their peers. Now, the reason that they wanted to understand the comparative analysis is to help them improve and drive process improvement at their organization by leveraging industry best practices. So to solve for this particular problem, we came up with a capability that is available to all our ITSM, ITOM, SecOps customers to leverage, which is the benchmark. Now, let me quickly go through what does benchmark offer and what's the benefit of it. So first and foremost, let me start by saying benchmark is a secured, anonymized capability, and it also adheres to any ServiceNow data collection policies. Benchmark has an easy product opt-in process where you would be able to opt into benchmarking capability and leverage the goodness of the comparative analysis and inside-out analysis, outside-in analysis of where your performance stands. We have KPIs across multiple products that we have as an offering from ServiceNow, and we'll take a quick look at what are those products where we have the KPIs. Subsequently, while we have a product opt-in, which is at benchmark level, you would also have a capability to go into a granular opt-ins at a KPI level itself to track and track your performance only for the KPIs that matters the most to you. Now, one of the things that we wanted to offer with benchmark is for you to have a view from on the performance side from one of the largest peer group that is the ServiceNow customer base, right? And why we want to give that richness of data collected across the ServiceNow customers, we wanted to make sure that the data that you're getting or the benchmark scores that you're leveraging is anonymized. And for the very same purpose, you would be able to get insights based on cohorts. Now, this is where we have multiple cohorts that we maintain on our side, which is either it's the overall ServiceNow customers using benchmarks, or it could be just your industry, region, or the organization size. One of the other cohorts that we have on our that we offer as part of our base system is the similar companies, and this is where you would be able to get a comparative insight for the from the company or the cohort which is this in the same industry with a similar size. Along with it, while you would be able to get what the benchmark scores are, you would also be able to get how are the leader group in your cohort performing. So let's say your performance is at X, the benchmark is at, let's say, a 50%. The average benchmark score is at another level, but where is the leader group? And this insight is what would help you drive this continual improvement at your organization to have it as a North Star. Finally, this is where the continual improvement management as a capability also comes into picture, where you can leverage this insights on the leader group performance as well as benchmark to drive improvement and initiative by leveraging continual improvement management at your organization. So these are the some high level product offerings, and we will go into the demo as well and the benefits as well. And just to showcase and highlight the benefits of using and continually monitoring your performance, I would just like to highlight one of the analysis that we conducted last year around how does continuous monitoring of metrics helps improve our customers' performance for a particular KPI. So this is one of the benefits that definitely resonated with many of our customers, where we showed if you're monitoring your performance on leading KPIs or some critical KPIs, if you keep monitoring it, you would see improvements on it. So for example, if you look at mean time to resolve an incident, what we saw is a customer who was using Success Dashboard, and Benchmark is a part of offering that comes with Success Dashboard also. So 44% of customers who are using Success Dashboard or monitoring these metrics continuously had an improved metric performance, and that too by 27.6%. Similarly, we ran this analysis across few other metrics like first assignment resolution, where we saw a 6% improvement across 52% customers who were using it more frequently. We had reopened incidents where we saw an improvement of around 25%. But what was an exciting and an interesting, I would say, insight that we got was around the self-service metrics like self-solve percentage and call deflection percentage. And that's where we saw when a customer was using or monitoring the metrics continuously, the 65% of it saw an improved performance of around 66%. And similarly for call deflection, we found out approximately 70% customers were using it more often, saw around about 85% improvement. Now, that's the benefit or the power of benchmarks and the analytic tools that we have as part of our ITSM or the box offering here. Now, I'll take a pause here, and Chris, let me know if there are any questions that we should take before we move on to the next section.
I would say Marcus does have a question on how big the customer base is for our benchmarks. I do think we touch on this later, but do you want to answer that now?
Perfect. I can answer this now. So, Marcus, right now we have around about 3,500 customers who have already opted into benchmarks and around about 2,800 customers who regularly use it every month over month. Any other question, Chris? Else we can move on to the next part of it.
No, I answered the rest in the Q&A. Looks like we got a thumbs up from Marcus, so sounds good.
So let's take a look at, so we talked about all the goodness that we had for as an offering from benchmarks, but let's talk about how does it work. So benchmark is offered to as a platform or shared capability for all the products where we have benchmarked KPIs. And this is where we have customer across these product capability who have opted in and are leveraging the capabilities of benchmark, where while collecting the information, once you opt in, we collect the information from your the platform by anonymizing and aggregating the data for each of these KPIs. And once the data is collected, we cleanse the data and then create the two scores, which is the benchmark scores as well as the leader group score. Now, let's take a look at the step-by-step, I would say, mechanism on how benchmarking works. So the first and foremost thing that you need to do to leverage this is opt into ServiceNow benchmark. And I'll show you how to do that with an easy one-step opt-in. The second thing is we are based off on performance analytics, and that's where the KPI data is collected in an anonymized and aggregated manner. And that too, all of our metrics is a number, a sum, which is the aggregation that we use for the monthly calculations. Once the monthly KPI scores are pulled over, we go through the benchmark score generation, and then we publish the score for all our opted-in customers so that you can leverage it at your end to review your result in comparison to the latest benchmark score as well as the leader group score. Now, while you're using and reviewing your results against benchmark, you would be able to do it by segmenting or basically using the different segments on which the benchmark scores are generated. So these are industry, size, geo, or all of our ServiceNow instance, and the other one is the similar companies. And finally, if you see or if you get an insight around if there's a dip or an improvement in performance that you would like to see, you can use continual improvement management to leverage and improve on the KPI itself. Now, these are the set of product capabilities out of the box that we have KPIs that we benchmark. So we have IT service management, IT operation management, security operations, strategic portfolio management, success dashboard, which is the value metrics that we have as part of our ITSM and HR offering, conversational interface, which is our VA offering, as well as recently, again, Safe Harbor applied here, HR service delivery related KPIs are also going to be added. Now, these are the 7 broad categories of KPIs that you would be able to leverage if you have opted into benchmarks. Now, next is a poll for us to understand if you were aware of benchmarking as a capability that ServiceNow has, and whether you use it on your side to do this performance evaluation or getting an outside-in perspective. So I'll quickly launch a poll and would like to hear, and if you have any kind of comments, suggestions, or feedback, please feel free to use our chat window to provide it, and we can take a look at it as well if most of our participants here resonates with the thought on chat. Perfect. We see that many of our more than 60% of our participants here are not aware of benchmark. So this gives us a fair idea on what the details should we be covering our demo so that you can understand the different capabilities that comes with it. Perfect. I'll close the poll at a 1-minute mark. First of all, thank you for responding to this poll. And like I was saying, 60% of you said that you're not aware of it. And a quarter of you said that, yes, you are familiar with it, but you're not using it. So in the next session, segment, we would go into a quick demo on how and what can you expect with benchmarks while you have it or while you start using at your end. And Chris, let me know if there are any questions. We can stop and take them as we go through the demo as well.
Will do. No technical questions, but will we be sharing this deck after this presentation?
We can check and let the group know.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and share the welcome page for the community article, the FAQ.
Thanks, Chris.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, you can access benchmark once you have opted in by going into, you can go into it in two ways. The first and foremost thing, like I was mentioning, Success Dashboard is part of an offering which we call Success Dashboard, which is where you would be able to understand how best you're using ITSM and HR capability, as well as, so those are the value metrics that you get with Success Dashboard. Along with the value metrics on Success Dashboard, you also see operational success, which is where you would be able to understand the performance of your processes that you have set around ITSM. And the third flavor is where benchmark comes into picture. And this is an instance where I would say the benchmark is already opted in. And that's where you would be able to see a getting started page where you would be able to review all the metrics, all the KPIs that are available for each of the categories that we talked about. So you would be able to see what are these KPIs, what's the definition, what's the condition that we have provided out of the box for each of the KPI that we are benchmarking. Now, each of our categories, for example, here the IT service management is broken down further into groups. And these groups are nothing but the workflows that we have on the IT side. And subsequently, similarly, we have a similar kind of a KPI hierarchy for other categories as well, like strategic portfolio management, which is SPM. Now, once you have opted in, again, you can then go into the dashboard itself. Again, you have two ways to do it. Either you navigate into you can go into the success dashboard. And when you land up here, this is where you need, the third tab is where you would be able to leverage benchmark. Now, just before I go further down the demo, the first and foremost thing that I should call out, that benchmark is available if you have any of the subscription for any of the categories that we were seeing. So benchmark is a shared capability for ITSM, ITOM, and HR, HRSD. Once you land up in benchmarks, you would be able to see a dashboard where you would be able to select which KPIs would you like to monitor your KPIs and like to see your performance against. The second thing that you'll also get is what should be your comparative group be? So do you want to compare with everyone in ServiceNow group, which is the overall cohort, or would you like to compare your performance against an industry, similar companies, the other cohorts that I mentioned? Now, this is where you would be able to understand how's your performance for each of the KPI depending upon the benchmark scores that were generated. Whenever you see a thumbs up, those are the metrics where you are doing better or at par with the benchmark scores. Subsequently, there's another information here, which is the top performer score. This is the score that I was referring to, the leader group score. And this is one of the insights that we provide with benchmark to help you decide the North Star metric and move the needle on the KPI itself. Now, once you review it, you would be able to also go into the details of it on how your performance has been in previous few months. And you can see the performance in comparison to the your performance in comparison to benchmark as well as the top performers. So it looks like this particular metric here has been erratic for me. And this is one of the, though I'm doing good, this is could be one of the candidates for me to improve on. And this is where you would be able to leverage continual improvement management, um, which is a separate capability that we have for ITSM HR that you can leverage to embark on the journey of improvement. Now, you can have this kind of an analysis done for any of the indicators, any of the group of indicators that we have as part of our out of the box offering. I'll take a pause here before I move into the administrative part of the demo. Chris, if there are any questions that we should take.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for Victor Adosi's question. It's I'm collaborating with the council to collect data from ServiceNow, which we use for security access control. I'm curious about how we can effectively leverage the benchmark process in this initiative. Is there
Um,
any way we can address that or give any kind of insight?
okay. I am not particularly sure about it, but can we take this up as a follow-up, Chris, that we can get back to the participant?
For sure. Victor, can you be sure to message where you're from and send me your email address? We have another in the Q&A. We have multiple service desks using ServiceNow to manage their work. Are there any plans to have breakdowns by groups or business unit?
A great question as well as a suggestion here. So one of the things that we have heard from a customer is that can we have a breakdown just on how we are benchmarking as of today? So right now on the dashboard, we do not have the breakdowns because and the reason behind it is when we collect the information, it's overall at the customer level. And the second reason is the groups or the business the service desk groups that we have would be different for different customers, and that's where um, a breakdown makes sense on the dashboard, but we might not be able to benchmark itself at the different group. I see that there is a question on will the KPIs be calculated for past two? So once you opt into benchmark, you would have an option to run historical collection job, which does two things for you. One is uh, collect the information at your instance level for the last 6 months, as well as once you opt in, you also would be able to download, get those at the benchmark score for last 6 months. So, and in essence, once you opt in, run the historical job, the past 6 months data is something that you would be privy to. There's one more question that I can take before we move on to the admin aspect. So, um, the question is around, are there out of the box KPIs in the success dashboard, and or do we need to manually define those? Is there a way to collect call performance data from other system and pull into ServiceNow to success dashboard? To answer the first part of the question, whether we have out of the box KPIs for success dashboard. So first and foremost thing, success dashboard is an ITSM Pro. The success dashboard, which is your value metric, is an ITSM Pro offering. And we do have out of the box metrics that you can leverage for your performance evaluation, as well as all the success dashboard metrics are also benchmarked. So if you have opted into benchmarks, as well as if you have the entitlement to success dashboard, you would be able to see your performance for the out of the box metric defined for success dashboard. Now, on the part of so you need not define it manually. So all the metric that we are collecting here for success dashboard is at the primary level, which is a prescriptive one. A prescriptive one defined by ServiceNow across for all customers. On the second part, where the question is around whether we can collect call performance data from another system and pull into the ServiceNow. So I can answer a part of this where if the data resides in ServiceNow instance, this is something that you can create it as a performance analytics indicator, and you can add it as a contributing indicator to success dashboard. As because you had questions here on success dashboard, we will try to attach any kind of more uh, videos that deep dives into this particular section, if that's okay. So I'll move into the administrative aspect on what are the thing apart from, let's say, opting in, what are the things that our customers admins can do. And over here, it could be the admins or it could be the benchmark admins. So the first and foremost thing that we expect our customers to do is provide the right rules to roles to their users. So we have out of the box roles that we ship with benchmarks, and you would be able to use this to to define or and assign the roles to the right people at your organization. So we have three, which is benchmark admin, data viewer, as well as recommendation viewer. Data viewer is the one role that is required for you to leverage the benchmark dashboard itself. And the admin would be able to do any kind of an administrative related task on benchmark admin console. The other part of it is where you would be able to participate only to the metrics that matters the most to you. For example, in this particular scenario, percentage of incidents resolved within SLA is something that I don't want to track for my organization. So I have opted in. But later on, let's say I want to opt back into it. I can click here, and going forward, this is the KPI that would be monitored, collected, and you would be able to leverage the benchmark scores for them. The other part of it that I would like to uh, touch upon is around whether, and this is one of the frequently asked questions by our customers, is the definition or the condition, how they look at a particular metric is different than what we have provided out of the box. Is there a way that I would be able to customize it? So this is where you would be able to modify the condition. Now, one thing to note is though we give a provision for you to update the criteria that applies to the KPI, but the definition is consistent across all our customers. So the expectation is all our customers adhere to the, I would say, the definition of the indicator that we are benchmarking. For example, here it is percentage high priority incidents, which per our definition is any kind of a P1, P2 that you would have at your end. And you would be able to make changes. Let's say if you would like to exclude any system generated incidents for this kind of a collection, so you would be able to make those changes from here and mark it as saved. So these are I would say, three different tasks that a benchmark admins can do at their end, providing the roles, opting into the right metrics or the metrics that you would like to track, which is the granular level of opt-ins that we talked about, and the KPI definition or condition update. So that was a quick demo around what uh, what would you be able to see when you opt into benchmarks? How do you go ahead with any kind of an admin task? I'll take a pause here to see if there are any questions.
There is one question that came up earlier about roles. One of the questions was, it appears benchmarking is restricted, presumably by groups slash role management. Even when provided with the correct benchmarking role, some of us still cannot access it. How do we get this fixed? This may be very particular to their setup, but do you have any initial thoughts, Abanov, on what might be going wrong there?
So if I understand the problem correctly, you have provided the data view role to the end user, but they are not able to they're able to see few KPI and their benchmark, its benchmark, but not for others.
That's what it looks like, yes.
So one of the things that we always adhere to is the ACLs that would be on the base table itself. So for example, would request you to check if the end user have at least the read or the any kind of a report view which works on the PA side. So if if you have the right tools on looking at the aggregated data, the data should be available for the end users.
Nice. Thank you. Then we have another, are the SLA benchmarks calculated on the same basis for all, and even if we may have our own SLA set?
So for SLA, we provide out of the box. I would say the indicator source, which is based on task SLA, and you can define it based on, let's say, if you want to use only for the response SLA or the resolution SLA is what we expect our customers to use for anything that breaches SLA. And that's the set that I'm expecting here as part of a question. Those are the set that you have.
Okay. And it looks, the last question we have, someone says they can't see the success dashboard, but they do have ITSM performance analytics. What role do they need to view the dashboard?
So two things there. A is Success Dashboard installed as an application. It's a store application. And just to reiterate, it's a ITSM Pro offering. And if you have the access, if both the condition applies and you have installed it, there's out of the box rules around Success Dashboard read with and write. And if you have the, sorry, Success Dashboard read and details read, if you have any of those two roles, you would be able to see Success Dashboard on your end. But for benchmark, you do not need ITSM Pro, and you would be able to view the dashboard just when if you have the right benchmark related rules.
I think that's it. The only other question I'm just gonna answer by typing, but sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abhinav.
So moving on to the next section. So we wanted to touch upon a few of the frequently asked questions that our customers like you have asked us in past, and specifically around the data privacy and security aspect of benchmarks. So first question and the most third question is, how are we pulling the data and what kind of a data we are pulling from why we want to benchmark these KPIs. So like we mentioned, we only collect anonymous and aggregated data. And that too, when we say we collect the data, we only are collecting usage-based data to calculate any kind of a benchmarking scores on our end. So when I say usage data, just to go a bit deeper into it, these would be the information like what's the total number of incidents, how many high priority incidents there are, how many self-solved instances that you have in your end. And we do not collect any kind of an information around which could identify a CI, a user, or an IP address on our site while we are benchmarking it. The second most frequently asked question is around anonymization, on how do we take care of anonymization at our end. So the first checkpoint is where we only collect the aggregated data while we are collecting the information for the KPI. And while we are aggregating the data, the second part of the anonymization happens where the cohort comes into picture, which is you would be able to see how your performance is in that particular cohort, but you would not be able to tell which exact customer are you compared against. And that's where the third, while you are seeing your performance against the benchmark, you'll never be able to get to the details of which customer is in that cohort and who all are you being compared to. And this is the second most important aspect of anonymization that we take care of with benchmarking cohorts. And this is where, while you are comparing or getting an insight using benchmark dashboards, you would be able to either choose from one of the cohorts that your, I would say, your organization aligns to. So, for example, if you are part of if your industry is manufacturing, you would be able to compare your performance only, or you would be able to compare your performance with manufacturing and let's say similarly, if you're from Americas as a region, you would be able to compare your performance across all the customers in that geo. And this is the way that we try to maintain this anonymized benchmarking for all our customers. The third aspect is around how are we transiting or transferring over the data from our customer instances to our onto the benchmark central instance for the benchmark scores to be collected. So we use certificate-based REST API calls, which are secured, and we collect the information on monthly basis. And we use a similar REST API calls to also publish the data out to individually all our customers that you can leverage month over month. Now, the other thing is, where do we store the collected information? So we have a central instance, which we call Benchmark Central. And this is where we collect the aggregated and anonymized data from all our customers. And this instance also is governed by all the security requirements that our customer instances are. So we are, and only the designated persons in the organization would have the access to this particular instance. So your data again is secured at the authentication and authorization level as well. And once the data is downloaded at your end, we have two roles that I talked about, the viewer and the admin. And these two are the only personas people with the roles who can access the benchmark dashboard and the report on in your company. And the last question is what we just covered, which was the definition for an indicator could differ from one customer to another. So you do have an option to update it. And the definition for benchmark remains consistent across our customer base. And that's how we make sure that we are comparing the right metric, and comparing the same metric across our customer base. So these were a few of the frequently asked questions that we've heard from our customers, and I thought it would be prudent to share with you and hear from you if there are any questions as a follow-up to the demo or the FAQs that we just shared.
Any questions? Don't be shy. Still have some time left here, y'all. Oh, there we go. Have some things popping in the Q&A. It's a good one from Alberto asking, how do you know the best practices that you can use to improve your performance?
Perfect. I'll cover a bit about it, Alberto, in the next segment, which is around the insights that we got while analyzing the data, and I'll talk about what are the parameters that we generally use for it. Mm, Peter, I see that you are mentioning that you get an error when you are opting in. So benchmark opt-in is only available on production environment. Is it a production environment that you are opting in from? So there's another a question around what's the best benchmark or dashboard to use when a VP wants to see KPIs for all his or her direct reports. So one of the things that we touched upon was that we do not have a breakdown as per se on benchmark dashboard, but overall on the organization. And so right now, that's one of the things that I've taken a note of it as a feedback, but it's across the board that the VPs or the CIO reports would be able to see the information on how well they are performing at an organization level. Perfect. That's a good point, Peter. Let me just quickly go back to one of the pieces where let me show you how you would be able to compare your performance based on the cohort or specific industry. So once you navigate to uh, your to benchmarks, you would be seeing your industry or basically your cohort information. And this is where, after selecting the category of metric that you want to see your performance for, you would have an option to choose whether you would like to compare across uh, all the ServiceNow customers or companies similar to you, which is the industry and of similar size. You can choose the next cohort, which is your industry. So in this case, as my industry is manufacturing, I can compare it to manufacturing. And this would then consider the cohort in this has already, or the benchmark score is already generated for each of these cohort and is published over to your end.
We do have a anonymized question, Abhinav. If this is a feature we have or is on the roadmap, can we create customized KPIs to add to our dashboard to compare with peers?
Um, so this is not a capability that we have as currently, and the reason behind it is as the KPI needs to be available with all our customers, or at least with customers who are using benchmarks, and that's where if there are any custom KPIs, this would not be available with other customers, and thus I would say not help us in benchmarking it. So that's where we are not giving any provision for custom KPI benchmarking. But that said, would love to hear if there are any KPIs that you think we should be adding on our site, any category or the KPIs itself. Do let us know through chat what are those so that we can provide that out of the box for you to leverage.
We do have 15 minutes left, so I don't know if you want to move on after this last question, but can you compare with multiple cohorts? Say you want to compare with two different industries.
Perfect. Currently, we do not give that capability, and the reason behind it is the maintenance of anonymity as well. Because as you filter on multiple cohorts, that would reduce the number of customers in that particular cohort, and we might be able to identify who the customers are we comparing against. So you would be able to compare only one cohort at a time, and secondly, the best practices where you are comparing your performance only against the cohort that you belong to. So we have a quick poll here where we wanted to understand if you're using benchmark already, or if you intend to use it, how often would you like would you see yourself using this dashboard at your end? It's great to see that most of you are saying you would like to use this information every month. Last few seconds, let us know how would you like to use it, how often would you like to use it, what kind of uh, and let us know if it's only on an ad hoc basis that you would like to use benchmarking information whenever you are preparing a report for your leadership. Perfect. Thank you, everyone who voted. I'll end the poll now. And let's go into the next segment of our session today, which is where we wanted to provide you some insights that we did we identified through our analysis of all the KPIs and its benchmark score that was generated for last year, which is for 2024. Um, so the first set of insights that we were looking at were from self-service productivity gains as the KPI that we have as out-of-the-box metrics that we provide our customers to track. And this is where what we found was the self-solve rate, which is anytime an employee was able to resolve their needs without any agent's intervention, is higher when we saw employees using self-service channels like portal, VA, and catalog. Now, this is where um, it's a recommendation where if you are using KBs for an end user resolution catalog items, which has flows and automated workflows in the backend of virtual agent conversations itself. This is the number. If you have an improved coverage of your use cases of the issues that you get, you would be able to improve the self-solve rate. Now, the second insight that we got was around productivity gains across employees. And this again was higher when we saw employees using the self-service channels more often. And this is where we identified two high-level recommendations, which is again the improvement on the coverage of KVs, catalogs, and BA. And the other is the automated workflows of virtual agent and Now Assist itself. The third insight that we found was around resolution within SLA was higher when a number of incidents were closed using a KB. Now, this is where an agent has a capability to attach a KB on the incident that they're working on, so that rather than them handling this low value, high volume ticket, the end users would be able to read through the KB and resolve their needs. Uh, and last one, though very obvious, but is something that was backed by the data analysis that we did for last year, is that the average CSAT was found to be negatively impacted by the average time to close an incident. So higher the average time to close an incident, the lower was the average CSAT. Um, and this is where we have a recommendation around how you can improve from a process perspective, which is we have in out of the box indicators that would help you visualize what are the incidents that are nearing SLA. And this leading indicator would help you improve the MTTR and subsequently improve the customer satisfaction score as well. Now, going back to the question that was asked during the Q&A session, how do we identify how do we improve this? So when we look at self-solve rate, the productivity gains, now these two specifically are the value metrics that are part of Success Dashboard and have contributors across these areas of KB's catalog virtual agent. And the coverage of it is where we have the use cases that can be automated through these automated resolution channels. I'll go into the next set of insights where we did an analysis on what did we see or find as the leader group performance versus the average benchmark performance. So again, looking at the value metrics like self-solve rate, what we found was it was 6 times higher for the leaders in the group. And the recommendation is in the same lines as what we looked, where increased coverage of VA, KB using automated workflows like Now Assist or the flows that we have as part of catalog item itself improves the self-solve rate for the end users. Similarly, if I touch upon one more metric here, which is the call deflection, and this is a metric where an end user, which tracks every time the end user was able to register their needs, like if they have an issue or they want something from IT team, they are able to create and register their needs using an incident or a request by themselves rather than giving a call to the L1 agent. And what we found for call deflection was the leader group had a double the average benchmark performance. And this is where the recommendation, of course, is to leverage self-service channels like mobile, portal, VA to register to check to uh, help the employees raise the ticket or create those tickets through them. The other thing that we touched upon was, of course, the average CSAT score being how to improve it. And because one of the correlations that we found was that it is negatively impacted by the number of or the MTTR. And this is where we found that leader groups have it higher by 20%. And these are some of the other insights around other metrics, like we got to know that the breached SLA percentage, which is the number of times an incident was breaching an SLA, the leader groups were doing better. And this is where the process aspect of monitoring each of your ITSM workflows would help you understand what are those what are those ticket items that are nearing SLA and should be worked on right away. Now, this was one of the other analysis that we did, and we wanted to share with all of you here in this session. And just on the biggest improvement for last 12 months, we found in last 12 months, the biggest improvements were around these 6 metrics, which were self-solve, call deflection, productivity moment, and fulfillment, where the agents are able to leverage ServiceNow capability to help themselves in effectively closing and fulfilling end users' need. Average CSAT saw increase. Average time to resolve a high priority incident saw a dip. Number of incidents created per user also saw a dip. So these were the metrics that saw the biggest improvement in the last 12 months. And these are the metrics where we saw more than 10% improvement from January to December 2024. So these were some insights that came out through our analysis over the past 12 months data that we had. And let us know if there are any questions on any one of these. Else we can go on to a quick poll that we had for the group here. So while I answer the questions, let me launch the poll so that we get to hear. So we would like to understand from you if there are any other categories of KPIs that you would like to see being benchmarked out of the box by ServiceNow. And also let us know if there are more KPIs in these metrics. Please feel free to add it in the chat section. And if there's other business area that you would like us to consider, mention it in others and in chat so that we can take it up as evaluation and validation process on our end. So there are 2 questions that I would like to take up. So the first one is around, is there something on our roadmap to provide some sort of best practices or steps to follow to better the KPIs and improving our benchmark? This is something that is in flight, and we are validating our hypothesis on what are the best parameters to consider to provide this recommendation and information to our end users, like the recommendations that I was showing you earlier. How can we automate it? The other thing is, there's a question around, does this apply to all services, which is ITSM, ITOM, HR? Chris, was there a pretext to this question?
No pretext. As you were talking, I was just typing if we could get a little bit of clarification on the apply portion there.
Yeah. Peter, I see that you have included CMDB and CIs as one of the, I would say, the set of metrics that you would like to see. We have 3 on CIs that are part of ITOM, but in future, we are going to expand on that particular set of KPI category as well. And correct. There's only three right now, but we are going to look at improving it. And both Peter and um, Sharuddin, if you can share with us the KPIs that you would like to see benchmarked around CMDB, DB Health, and CI Health, do let us know through chat, or please feel free to reach out through your.
And we are recording all of your requests. I hope you all know. I don't want you to think we're just telling you to type for no reason. This is very helpful for us as we continue to build out benchmarks.
Um, there's a great insight by Alberto on chat where you would like to see how all of these metrics and KPIs are aligning to the service orientation, business problems, and business objectives overall. So this is again a great suggestion that Chris and I can take back for as a feedback for us to evaluate. Thanks, Erica, Ingrid, for your suggestions. So I'll end the poll, and the last, just to summarize on what we saw today, is overall the prescriptive KPIs which are consistent across the board for all our customers that you can leverage to get a comparative insights. Cohort-based benchmarking for anonymized view into your performance when compared to your peers. How you leverage performance analytics, the KPI formation for data collection and visualization. Benchmark being secured, anonymized, and aggregated only, and the admin console for you to assign the right roles to right folks, as well as using it to opt for granular opt-ins and any kind of a KPI updates. Now, we come to the last part of our session today, and we would like to see if you saw value in using benchmarks and whether you would like to you would prefer to use it at your organization. So do let us know if you intend to use it, whether you are already using it, and whether you would like to start using it in future. Thanks for all your votes. Keep letting them come. And it's great to see that, yeah, that many of you are saying that you would start the due diligence process. Do let us know if there's anything that we can help you with. We would post uh, some of the artifacts that can help you get started on the community site, like Chris mentioned. So thank you for voting on this particular board. This helps us into understanding what your adoption journey looks like in respect to benchmarks. And again, all these feedback, all these questions are insightful for us to understand where should we take the product. Just thank you for taking this 1 hour out of your calendar and spending it with us and to learn benchmarks and how you can use it. So if you have any questions, suggestions please feel free to put it in the community and also share it with us. Chris, anything to add?
Nothing. Just want to say thank you all for being so active and commenting, asking questions. We'll do our best to fold that into future releases.
So we'll have the useful resources added as part of community, right, Chris? So we should
Hmm.
provide those.
Yeah, we should have it updated by the next release.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Take care and have a great day today. Bye.